content presented in this podcast is based on real events and may contain graphic descriptions of violence, sensitive topics, and explicit language that may be triggering, offensive, or sensitive subjects to some viewers and listeners. Discretion is advised. The purpose of this podcast is to explore and discuss true crime cases for entertainment and educational purposes only. This podcast does not intend to glorify or sensationalize crime, but rather aims to analyze and understand the complexities of human behavior in the criminal justice system. We encourage listeners to approach this content with empathy, critical thinking, respect for the victims and their families. Imagine being a teenager in a small town where everyone knows your name, your family, your friends, and all your secrets. Now imagine that every ding on your phone brings a new message, cruel words, intimate details, even threats. It feels like someone is watching you, following you, even breathing down your neck. But for Lauren Licari, those messages were constant. They didn't just target her. They spread like wildfire to her boyfriend, Owen, her closest friends, even her classmates. Rumors flew, suspicions deepened, and soon everyone at Beal City High School was looking over their shoulders. Who was behind it? A jealous friend, a bitter ex, a cousin out for revenge? No one could have predicted the truth because the person sending those messages wasn't a classmate. It wasn't some enemy lurking in the halls. It was someone far closer, someone Lauren trusted completely. This is the story of betrayal, broken friendships, and cyberstalking case that tore apart a town and left scars that will linger. So with that being said, it's time to start the show. Let's hit it. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem Merlot. I'm your host, Wendy Schrader. Well, lately it seems like every documentary that has been coming out has been about, romance scams, cons, catfishing. I mean, there was that one, Sweet Bobby, which I would love to cover down the road. But now you have like the romance scam, people using fake profiles. It's just really hard to navigate what's truth and what's not in this digital world that we live in. I mean, you can't trust what you see, what you hear, who you're talking to on the other side of the phone. It's maddening, honestly. It gives me anxiety just thinking about it. One of the documentaries that just came out stuck out to me because it's a little different. This wasn't a scam to try and steal money or catfishing a romantic relationship with somebody. But this one began in a very small town in Beal City, Michigan, and it involved high schoolers. And of course, we know how high schoolers can be when it comes to being catty, and how high school people can be cruel and mean to each other. But this started turning into something that was a little bit deeper and a little bit very stalkerish. So it just wasn't your typical everyday mean girl issue. Now we're going to discuss the new Netflix documentary, Unknown Number, the High School Catfish. So let's take a look. Now it all began quietly enough, just a few strange messages that popped up on 13-year-old Lauren Licari's phone in 2020. At first, they seemed like it was kind of an anonymous prank teenagers sometimes pull on one another. The first one read, "Hi, Lauren. Owen is breaking up with you." Now, Lauren's boyfriend, Owen McKenney, denied sending it. All stemmed from Lauren not wanting to go to Chloe's Halloween party that Owen was invited to. And Owen was going to bring Lauren, but Lauren wasn't a fan of Chloe because Chloe had kind of a mad crush on Owen. Now, just a handful of texts were sent over the next couple weeks, but they kind of eventually fizzled off. They just basically said, screw off, leave us alone. But just 11 months later in 2021, they came back, and they came back relentlessly. It started off again as some odd messages, and it just snowballed into dozens per day. Now, the harassment wasn't just constant, it was deeply personal. The sender seemed to know intimate details of Lauren's life. What classes she had, when was she at home, when was she in town. Now, in the documentary, Lauren recalled unnerving feeling of being monitored or watched. She said they knew my class schedule. When I was home, where I was, I couldn't go anywhere without wondering if they were watching me. Now, as weeks went by, the messages spread beyond Lauren. Owen began receiving them too, mocking him, taunting him about his relationship, and threatening to expose secrets. Now, friends weren't safe either. Now, Chloe Wilson, Owen's friend who had a crush on him, she was another classmate, also found herself dragged into the harassment because her name was used in a manipulative way to fuel the jealousy and suspicion. Now, what made the situation even more terrifying was how it was so targeted. These texts, they weren't just random insults. They cut to the core of Lauren's insecurities and private struggles. Now, at times, these messages encouraged Lauren to hurt herself, telling her she wasn't worth living. She would later admit that she was reading them day after day, took a serious toll on her mental health. I mean, how could it not? Leading to sleepless nights, anxiety, and panic attacks. Okay, it's hard enough being a teenage girl. And then having this on top of it, oh, this poor girl. And when in the documentary, as they were talking about insecurities, like they were calling her a flat ass, anorexic. Why do you wear your hair like that? Those pants look awful on you. So it really gave her this sense of being watched. And I don't know how at this point, she really hasn't told anybody about it. She hasn't told her mom. She hasn't told the school. So she has been harboring this stuff for a year now. And for her to keep it together, I mean, I don't know how this girl got through it. I don't know how she did, but blessings that she did. So let's get back to it. I started feeling like I couldn't breathe, Lauren said. Every text made my chest tighten. I couldn't eat. I couldn't focus in school. I couldn't sleep. I was like being trapped in my own life. Now, director Skye Borgman explained in the interview that the messages weren't just bullying. They were designed to isolate Lauren from the people who loved her the most. Not being believed by friends at school, losing friends at school because they're taking sides. Everyone felt that in such a big way. Now, the environment at Beal City High School quickly shifted from normal teenage life to an atmosphere of suspicion and fear. Students whispered about who might be behind the harassment. Some even accused Chloe directly, thinking she had a reason to go after Lauren because she had a crush on Owen. Teachers and administrators were baffled. And all the while, the unknown sender kept pressing send day after day, tightening their grip. Her and Owen were very active in sports together. I mean, obviously, she played girls' sports. He plays boys. They were in line with that. They liked to play basketball, baseball, softball, football, whatever. And one of the sports that she really enjoyed was basketball. Lauren's mother, Kendra, she would sub in or volunteer to coach or help with scorekeeping. Eventually, she had to go to her mom because the person that was texting her was giving her information that was specific to her game, saying, you suck, you didn't score any points today. I scored this many points and stuff. And then her mom would do scorekeeping. So she even had her mom go and look to see who scored that many points that game. And Chloe's name popped up. So that's how Chloe got thrown in the mix. And she was unaware of all this happening as well. So, I mean, granted, she did have a crush on Owen, but she wasn't the one sending the text messages. But in theory, it did look like she could have been the one, right? Well, let's find out who it actually is. Now, for Lauren, the text blurred the line between reality and paranoia. Who could she trust? Were her classmates laughing at her behind her back? Was her boyfriend hiding something? Now, the harassment grew even darker. So did the suspicion it stirred inside the school. I mean, students weren't just whispering about Lauren's tormentor anymore. They were starting to point fingers. You know, Chloe was dragged into it, into the messages early on and became the lightning rod for rumors. The anonymous text sometimes name dropped her in ways that made it seem like she was plotting against Lauren. Now, it didn't help that Chloe already had a complicated history with some of her classmates. She did have some behavioral issues, getting into fights and having arguments and stuff with other classmates. But one student who entered the rumor mill was Owen's cousin, Adriana. I guess she had her own tension with Chloe. Adriana had been bullied by her before. See what I mean by the bad behavior? She was not very nice to other classmates. And that grudge created a fertile ground for speculation. People started whispering maybe Adriana was the one behind the screen, making it look like it was Chloe taking revenge on Lauren. It was like a sick domino effect, Chloe recalled. First, it was Lauren, then Owen, then me, then Adriana. Everyone was caught in it, and no one knew who to trust. But what made the harassment truly terrifying, wasn't that wasn't just accusations. It was like this stalking-like quality in the messages. The text came with chilling immediacy, like watching Lauren in real time and then sending her a text. If she would leave the house, her phone would buzz. If she changed classes, a message would pop up referencing it. Like, it felt like someone was right there breathing down my neck all the time. They'd text me about what I was wearing, where I was sitting in class. I started wondering, are they outside? Are they in the same room with me? I can't imagine having that type of paranoia at 13 years old, and even at 14, if she's 14 by now, still. Oh my God. That would, oh, this girl is strong. I don't know how this girl did this without losing her mind. Now, the constant surveillance shattered her sense of safety. Lauren couldn't go to school without scanning the hallways. She couldn't sit at a lunch table without wondering who was watching her. Even posting online or texting friends felt dangerous because every time she reached for her phone, the tormentor was already there, waiting. Now, the paranoia seeped into the friendships and family ties, creating fractures that no one could escape. The pressure became so intense that Lauren and Owen broke up, and the constant fear and suspicion straining their once close bond. It hurt so much, Lauren admitted, not just because we were breaking up, but because I felt everything I trusted seemed to be slipping away. Now, her friend group also suffered. Macy, Sophie, and Chloe found themselves walking a tightrope of loyalty, suspicion, and fear. Adriana, too, was unfairly painted as a possible culprit, further straining bonds. Now, small misunderstandings escalated, arguments flared, even moments meant for comfort became fraught with tension. Yeah, it even got to the point where her own friends thought maybe it was Lauren doing it to herself just to get Owen's attention and try to seek attention from others as well. Even my closest friends, Lauren said, sometimes I couldn't tell if they were really on my side or if the messages had poisoned their view of me. That hurt more than anything else. Now, the harassment also began to affect Lauren's school attendance and daily routine. She would avoid classes, skip social engagements, isolate herself from peers, fearing that any interaction could be monitored or twisted by the anonymous sender. Her grades slipped, her confidence eroded under the constant scrutiny. Now, the cruel irony remains. The stalker, who seemed to have eyes everywhere, wasn't lurking in the hallways at Beal City High School. Oh, no, 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 no. But sitting in Lauren's own home. The tormentor was her mother. Yes, it was her mother, typing out the terror from behind the screen. Now, the arrest of Kendra Licari shattered more than just her daughter's sense of safety. It upended everything for the community. Yeah, so when basically how they found out it was Kendra Licari was because, the FBI eventually had to get involved because some of these text messages were valid threats. So they had to get law enforcement involved. And when they finally connected these random, whoever was using a random number generator, they all tied back to Kendra's phone. And that didn't seem right, now did it? Well, she admitted to it. It was her. So the FBI and law enforcement took it to the other parents because they were literally like how the kids were pointing the fingers at each other. The parents were starting to do the same.
My number?
Yep. Does it have to do with Owen? Is there an infatuation there with Owen?
Nothing like that.
Okay, then just tell me what did he treat Lauren dad? I mean, something serious to one uncle out, right?
Yeah, and it didn't start that way.
I'm sure it didn't.
I don't know.
That's okay. Just start from the beginning. So they were dating, and then they broke up. So how did it really start? Like, why did it start after? Did it start during when they were still dating?
It did.
What, he treated him bad?
But it didn't. The first ones didn't start like with me.
Okay.
I will say that those ones were like random or whatever.
So somebody else started those, you don't know.
But then I fed off of it.
Jill, who is Owen's mother, was working real close with Kendra trying to figure out who this was. She could not believe it. No, she was helping me. How? No. Like, why would she do that to her own daughter? That doesn't make sense. And it doesn't. It does not make sense at all. So maybe let's kind of delve into that and kind of see what went wrong. I mean, what would cause a mother to do this to her own daughter? Now, the arrest of Kendra Licari shattered more than just her daughter's sense of safety. It upended an entire community. People in Beal City struggled to reconcile the woman they thought they knew, a coach, a mother, a trusted adult, with the predator she was and was revealed to be. Now, the truth devastated Lauren's father as well. For months, he had trusted Kendra to help protect their daughter, never imagining she was the one causing the torment. He goes, I could not wrap my head around it. The woman I married, the mother of my kids, she was the one tearing our family apart. How do you process that? Maybe for the last 15, 20 years is a lie. I mean, what do you do with that information? I don't know. He described the betrayal as all-encompassing, the lies, the sneaking around, and the way Kendra manipulated everyone in the family. It wasn't just about the text, he said quietly. It was about the lies, the sneaking around, the way she played all of us. I thought we were fighting this together, but she was the one holding the knife. For Lauren, learning her mother was the tormentor was just catastrophic. I mean, the unraveling of Kendra's double life revealing a disturbing pattern, pretending to work late or help out at school while she was actually crafting fake accounts, sending malicious messages, Lauren recalled. She'd tell me she'd be working late, but then I'd realize she wasn't on the schedule. She was just gone, and now I know exactly what she was doing. Now, when the truth finally surfaced that Kendra Licari was the one sending the hundreds of anonymous threatening messages, the biggest question wasn't how she did it. Investigators already had that digital trail. The real mystery was why. Why would a mother deliberately torment her own daughter? Why would she let her suffer, isolate, and destroy her own friendships and her own self-esteem? Now, some psychologists believe the answer lies in a disturbing behavioral disorder, which you probably wouldn't even think of to apply to this, but Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Now, traditionally, Munchausen by proxy involves a caregiver or a mother who induces or fabricates illness in their child to gain sympathy, validation, control. But instead of making them sick, they make their child appear sick, securing attention as a worried parent while secretly orchestrating the suffering. Now, Kendra's actions didn't involve hospitals or fabricated medical charts, but the pattern was strikingly similar. She wasn't making Lauren physically ill, but she was making her a victim, and she was abusing her emotionally. Now, by creating this crisis, she positioned herself to be seen as a protective, self-sacrificing mother. Now, as one child psychologist noted in the documentary, this wasn't about medicine. It was about the manipulation, and Kendra didn't need a hospital bed. She just needed an audience. Now, the harassment served two purposes. First, it isolated Lauren, making her dependent on her mother's protection. Second, it drew attention to Kendra, who could perform the role of a distressed but caring mom in front of the community. She was, in a sense, both the villain and the hero of the story. So, yeah, like, I mean, the law enforcement in the documentary, they said she even inserted herself into the investigation all the time. Is there any updates? What's going on? Any new information? Even her husband had asked her from time to time, like, I thought you were taking care of this. Why does it keep happening? And she's like, I'll take care of it. I'll talk to the school, which, the school can only do so much. I mean, but they were trying their best as well with surveillance cameras in the school. So, like, every time Lauren would get a text, she had to text the principal, and then he would go on the cameras at that timestamp to see if there was anybody on their phones in kind of inconspicuous ways texting. So, I mean, it was a hot mess trying to figure out who was doing this, but the whole time it was her own mother. Now, this behavior didn't stop with just text with Kendra. Kendra was known to weave lives into parts of her life as well, stories about her job, about stressors, about struggles that weren't rooted in reality. These were all little fictions carefully crafted to paint her as an overburdened, misunderstood. Now, an investigator interviewed in the documentary Unknown Number, the High School Catfish, explained she created the fire, then showed up with the water hose. She wanted to be seen as the rescuer when all along she was the arsonist. Now, for Lauren, this wasn't just betrayal. It was psychological abuse wrapped up in maternal concern. Imagine the dissonance, the person holding you while you are crying over anonymous text is the very same person typing them behind your back. A forensic psychiatrist commenting on the case put it bluntly. Munchausen by proxy is about control through suffering. The parent engineers the pain because the sympathy and attention it brings to them is intoxicating. Now, it was almost like she needed to be both the poison and the cure. She created the problem, then tried to make herself the solution. Now, Kendra's behavior fits the mold chillingly well. She manipulated not just her daughter, but the entire community, friends, teachers, law enforcement, into believing in the crisis she herself had invented. Now, in the end, Lauren wasn't just the victim of cyberbullying. She was the victim of modern digital form of Munchausen by proxy. Instead of forged medical records, the instrument of abuse was a smartphone. Now, instead of hospital ward, the stage was social media and group text. But the pattern, the need for the sympathy, the cycle of harm and rescue remained painfully recognizable. The emotional fallout was profound. Lauren had to cope not only with the relentless harassment, but also what fractured friendships, a broken relationship, and the unbearable knowledge of her mother's betrayal. I don't just have to heal from harassment, Lauren said softly. I have to heal from betrayal. Owen admitted the ordeal left deep scars for him as well. Every text, every fight, every time Lauren thought I was lying, it was all her mom pulling the strings. That messes with your head. Now, for Chloe, Macy, Sophie, and Adriana, the social fallout lingered long after the harassment ended. they had to rebuild trust and friendships that had been strained by suspicion and rumor. I want people to know that I wasn't the villain in this story, Chloe said. I was just another victim. Now, Kendra's sentencing, 20 months to 5 years, offered some justice, but unanswered questions about the psyche remain. For Lauren, the road forward is about reclaiming her identity and her trust in others. If my story can help even one person feel less alone, then maybe something good can come out of this, she shared. Even as Beal City works to heal, Lauren's resilience stands as a testament that despite unimaginable betrayal, recovery is possible. You know, she obviously recognizes, even though it was betrayal, maybe she's recognizing that, you know, maybe her mom is mentally ill, you know, and right. I mean, this is no different than the Gypsy Rose case, other than, you know, Gypsy Rose was physically abused, whereas she was being emotionally abused. I mean, traumatizing. I mean, some of these texts that her mother was sending her, I mean, they were telling her to do self-harming events, saying you're worthless, that Owen doesn't love you, he loves me, and saying vulgar stuff too, very sexually explicit topics and words. And to know that her mother was doing it, it's so gross to think that to even type those words to a minor, to a minor, and you're an adult woman. To me, that's really disgusting. I mean, it was pretty graphic. But obviously Kendra needs some good therapy and some psychological care, and I hope she gets it for where she's at. We see these kind of cases all the time of friends. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you all have kids, you've probably had kids come home, they're upset because somebody posted something on Snapchat or on Instagram or something, and people are making fun of this person. How do we protect our kids when we live in such a digital world? How can we protect it from I guess kids from their parents when it comes to this stuff as well? I mean, but you know, I hope I want nothing but blessings and healing for the Lakari family. I can't imagine how this had to feel for him. Like, his whole marriage was a lie. She was lying about having jobs. She would say she's working somewhere, and I don't even know where she'd go during the day. She would leave for work, you know, multiple jobs. They were so far into debt too, on top of it. So maybe she was just trying to maybe find a way to disassociate herself with her own life to become another person. I don't know. But I just hope that the town and the friendships and the people can heal from this. You know, sit down with your kids, you know, your teenagers, and watch this documentary. Not really the fact that you could take the side that she was her mother, but just the cyberbullying, and how it can really impact somebody. Because, you know, being on the side of slinging words and stuff, you don't feel how it impacts that person. So it's kind of good to kind of sit down and say, hey, this is them in their most vulnerable moment, when they're in the room by themselves and they're letting their emotions out because they can't do it at school. I think it would be a good lesson to just sit down with your teenagers and have open dialogue about this.
Have you ever felt like something or someone was trying to tell you something? That inner nudge, that quiet whisper from the universe, with intuition sharpened by years of spiritual connection and a deep-rooted gift. Winnie Schrader delivers readings that are compassionate, insightful, and shockingly accurate. Whether you're facing a crossroads healing from heartache, or just curious what the cards reveal, Winnie creates a safe, sacred space to explore your journey. This isn't fortune cookie fluff. This is honest, Intuitive guidance from someone who's helped hundreds find clarity, closure, and confidence. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Book your session now at lovelotustarot.com and take control of your journey. That's lovelotustarot.com. Winnie's sessions are personal, powerful, and often life-changing. That's lovelotustarot.com.
Obviously, with the latest news, we need to cut the negativity out and start moving forward on a positive foot. I am recording this on 9/11, 24th anniversary of 9/11, and I remember that day like it was yesterday. We could go over all the semantics and everything of 9/11, how horrible it was that day, but in light of we had the school shooting here in Minneapolis, and then the events out in Utah, and the school shooting out in Colorado just this week, and the last couple weeks. I think we really need to take a hard look at ourselves and realize we're not getting anywhere the way we're going. But when I reflect back on 9/11, I don't like to reflect back on the towers when the Pentagon got hit, and then we found out about Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. But what really stands out to me out of everything that came out of 9/11 was 9/12, and how no matter what religion, what race, what ethnicity, what creed, what education you had, we were all the same. It didn't matter what political party you were a part of, whether you were gay or straight, transgender, whatever. We were all 9/12ers. We were all 9/12ers who looked at each other and said, it's us against them. And we're talking about, the world, the terrorists, the people that are trying to get us Americans. And 24 years later, I don't think we've come very far. And 24 years later, an assassination takes place at a time where we're supposed to reflect on us united under one flag. And we're more divided than we've ever been, ever. Ever. I would just like you to remember, we take 9/11 to reflect, and we remember those who were lost. And we remember those who sacrificed. And we remember those who helped the stranger with no questions asked. And now we have innocent people getting stabbed on trains and just left there to die. You got people speaking at colleges and gets assassinated on camera. And then you have back-to-back school shootings. We need to get back to a 9/12er mentality. I understand people are angry, and I understand that people are stressed and they're frustrated. Kill it with kindness. I also do want to follow up from last week talking about Richard Allen and the Delphi murders. Obviously, I've been getting a lot of flack because there are a lot of Richard Allen support groups to free Richard Allen. And that's fine. He has every right. There has every right to have a support group to think that you're innocent and wants to get you out of jail. I totally get it. Law enforcement does screw up from time to time, but some of the comments I've been getting, it's always like not important things that could really say, oh my gosh, you're right. Because everyone's like, well, his cell phone didn't ping off any towers in the area. Well, that's easy. He could have turned his phone off I think he said some people said the last ping on his phone was around 1:30 in the afternoon. Well, you just turn your phone off. Well, your phone ain't gonna ping if it's off. So that you can't tell me that that's a reason why he's innocent. Now, one thing somebody keeps bringing up that I keep seeing that keeps popping up is, well, one person couldn't have done this. Well, yeah, they could have. I mean, if you have weapons, multiple weapons, and even though that they could have outran him or whatever, if he has a gun, they know that you can shoot from a distance. So it's not, if he just had a knife, I could totally see the girls taking over and trying to get away and try and hurt him as well. But you can't say that the girls. Can you imagine if he would have put them at gunpoint and told them what to do? Of course, they're going to do what they're telling him to do. If he has a gun on them and he's threatening to shoot one over the other, and like in the interview, we were talking about how close those girls were. They had such a tight bond. They were like sisters. They were not going to leave each other behind. That just wasn't in their purview at all. They were sticking with each other to protect and help each other out. So, I don't know exactly what happened, but what I do know is that when Richard's wife knew that he had told her that he was on the trails that day. So she's like, you better go on the police station and let them know you were there and at what times so they can cancel you out. So that's what he did. And they asked him, oh, what were you wearing that day? And he described everything, jacket, hat, sweatshirt, blue jeans. And at this point, the video had not come out. We had no clue that Bridge Guy even existed at this point. So when one person says they are there at the crime at the scene or in the vicinity of the crime scene, okay? And he says you have a video, you have evidence of who is probably responsible for this, but nobody's seen it. And the guy that comes in starts telling you what he was wearing that day, all this information, and he's kind of describing himself in the video. Well, what do you think's going to happen? And then to find out he has a bullet, an unspent bullet near the bodies. So you have a guy that admitted to being there. He described himself as Bridge Guy before we even knew about Bridge Guy. And then when Bridge Guy came out, it was like, hey, but the problem was that was the report that got lost. And that's why it resurfaced years later. So and a lot of people are trying to say this Odinism thing, this theory is because, they try to file this report and so got killed and they're trying to keep it quiet. So, if we think that, Odinists are part of this whole thing, okay, well, let me just, I put this scenario out to somebody in a comment. The type of Odinists in that area have been they're kind of an extremist group. Religious extremists, you have political extremists. So there's all these types, and you always get these little fractions. And usually we see it with like religion and stuff, like how we have the Branch Davidians, the whole Waco thing. Jim Jones, he was Christian, but he was his own type of Christian. Well, some of these Odinists have I think what it is that the neo-Nazi party and the white supremacist groups have adopted some of the Odinism practices and the religious aspects of it. So it's kind of a hybrid faction of Odinism. So it's not Odinists, okay? So that I just want to clarify that. And that population the highest population is in the Indiana area because it's in the Indiana State Prisons. Okay, which that's where Richard Allen is. Now, one thing, if you look up the information on how would the neo-Nazi party recruit? How do white supremacists recruit? Well, they do like any other cult will do, and they will prey on the vulnerable and the weak-minded people who are having issues in life, who have mental illness, like Richard says he's dealt with severe depression in the past. So he would be a prime target to try and recruit for their cause. Now, he could have been interested in this type of these pagan rituals and stuff. They are very interesting. I looked it up. I think it's cool. I like to look at runes and look up different cultures and histories of religion. It's just what I love. So maybe it was something that interested him, and maybe he could have gone and looked up a local group, and maybe he met with a group one day, and maybe he wanted to get a part of a group, and maybe there was a price you had to pay to get in. Now, well, why would Onus do that? Oh, no. These are run by gang members that are in prison systems. These are neo-Nazi gang prison, the prison systems. And then they have people, they try and recruit outside the walls. And now these factions are groups that have been known to severe violence. They'll blow up houses. Timothy McVeigh, for example, he would be a kind of one of those perfect examples of that disillusioned thinking. That's why he blew up the Oklahoma City federal building on April 19th. And it could have very well been of something like that, because I could have seen him, and the way things played out, telling the girls to go down the hill. Maybe he was telling them it was his job to get the girls down the hill, and there were a couple people there waiting for them. Who knows? But all I know is Richard Allen has ties to the crime scene. He places himself at the crime scene and the area. And he confessed 61 times. Now, I know everyone's like, well, his confession is nothing. They're medicating. He's not well. I understand that too. But until there's absolute proof that somebody else was there and somebody else did it, then what else can we go by other than it was Richard Allen? So if you have valid information about the Delphi case, change my mind. I'm all for it. If you want to try and change my mind and help me figure out why Richard Allen is innocent, don't bring up the onanism thing, because technically that's all in theory based off interpretations of what somebody described the murder scene, because at that time it wasn't public, the documents and the way you saw the murder scene. So everything's closed off. So with that being said, if you have credible proof or something that could tell me otherwise, or make me start thinking on the other side of the fence here, email me at mysteriesmayhemmerlot@gmail.com. But the one thing I do want to stop is the vile nature of it all. This week alone should tell you where that can get you. And that needs to stop. You can have a discussion and a disagreement with somebody in an intellectual and mature way. Honestly, when people start spitballing me names and yelling at me and stuff, that's just smoke to me, and I'm just going to poo-poo it away and not even respond to it. So if you have some credible information, hey, I'd be happy to take a look at it. And if you have any new information about the Delphi case that that none of the documentaries have touched on, that nothing was brought up in courts, maybe you feel like you got a good story behind this, but nobody's hearing you, email me as well. And also hit up my link tree. You can find me on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, everything. And also you can find me doing my Love and Lotus Tarot. Yes, I know I do tarot readings, but yeah, you can subscribe to my channel at MMM Winnie Schrader. I got new episodes every Sunday. And then, of course, every Monday and Wednesday, you got the Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader. Yep, you can find him right here on YouTube at the Paranormal 60. So yeah, check us out. But yeah, visit my website as well at mysteriesmayhemmerlot.net. You can check out my merch there. I do have some kind of fun, true crimey themed stuff going. You know, I am still kind of working on some more stuff. But I have links there for interviews along with the books. I do need to update that. I have been kind of working on that, but life has gotten in the way this whole summer for the Schrader family. But, you know, hopefully now things are starting to slow down a little bit and get back to normal for us. So we appreciate you guys sticking in with us. You guys are a great support. We couldn't do it without you. Really, we couldn't. One more thing. If you guys have been on the fence about going on a paranormal investigation, you're missing out. Just hop over the fence. Don't teeter-totter on it anymore. Just do it. Join Dave and I for the Halloween Haunts and Hijinks event this October at the Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. We're having Dalen Spratt from Ghost Brothers, and now he has his own YouTube series, The Graveyard Shift, which I had him on talking about. That awesome guy. We have him along with Renee, who's a talented medium psychic who will be doing gallery readings. And then we have Dave Schrader himself, and we'll be doing live ghost hunts. We have presentations. I'll be there doing tarot readings all weekend. And we're going to have a Halloween costume party. So please come on out. We only have a few tickets left, but I will have a link today in today's show notes for that. It'll be the Halloween Haunts and Hijinks event. Tickets are going to sell out quick, and it's getting to that time of year. So if you have been on the fence and just say, hey, I just need to, go for it and just do it. Well, here's your chance. So go ahead, check it out. And I will see you guys all next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. And until our next case, my armchair detectives, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay aware. I'll see you right here next week on Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot.